The distress beacon had been silent for 3 cycles when Alara Voss finally located the crashed pod on Theta 7's frozen moon. Her breath crystallized in the sub-zero atmosphere as she approached the wreckage. Its hull split open like a cracked egg against the ice shelf. "Another empty grave," she muttered, scanning the debris field with her thermal optics. Nothing. No heat signatures, no movement. Just twisted metal and the howling wind that never ceased on this forsaken rock. She was about to turn back to her shuttle when she heard it, a sound so faint it was nearly lost in the gale. A whimper. Then another. Elora's instincts, honed by 15 years of search and rescue operations across the outer colonies, kicked in immediately. She moved toward the sound, her boots crunching through the permafrost. Behind a chunk of the pod's cargo hold, sheltered from the worst of the wind, she found them. 6 creatures huddled together in a mass of matted fur and trembling limbs. They were small, no larger than earth foxes, with elongated snouts and oversized ears that lay flat against their skulls. Their fur was a mottled gray-blue, designed for camouflage against ice and rock. Cubs. Definitely cubs. And they were dying. "Oh, hell," Alara whispered. She recognized them immediately from her xenobiology briefings. Kirathi young, probably no more than a few weeks old. The Kirathi were a reclusive species from the Andromeda sector, rarely seen in Terran space. What they were doing on a transport pod in the middle of nowhere was a mystery she'd have to solve later. Right now, these cubs needed warmth. Alara quickly assessed the situation. Her shuttle was a 20-minute trek back across the ice field. The cubs wouldn't survive the journey exposed to the elements, and her thermal suit could only accommodate 1, maybe 2 at most. She needed another solution. She pulled off her pack and withdrew her emergency survival blanket, a thick, thermally insulated sheet designed to retain body heat in extreme conditions. It was meant for humans, but it would have to do. "Come on, little ones," she said softly, kneeling beside them. "Let's get you warm." The cubs flinched at her approach, their small bodies tensing with fear. One of them, slightly larger than the others, with a distinctive white patch on its chest, let out a warning hiss, bearing tiny fangs. "Easy, Rin," Alara said, though she had no idea if that was actually the cub's name. Something about the defiant little creature reminded her of her younger brother, who had borne that name. "I'm here to help." She moved slowly, speaking in low, soothing tones as she unwrapped the blanket. The cubs watched her with wide, luminous eyes that held far more intelligence than any Earth animal. They understood she wasn't a threat, even if they didn't fully trust her yet. Alara wrapped the blanket around the huddled group, tucking the edges beneath them to create a sealed pocket of warmth. But it wasn't enough. She could see their breathing was still too shallow, their movements too sluggish. They needed more heat. Without hesitation, she lay down beside them on the ice. The cold bit through her thermal suit immediately, but Alara ignored it. She pulled the blanket over herself and the cubs, creating a shared cocoon. Her body heat, regulated by the suit's internal systems, began to fill the small space. The cubs stirred. One by one, they began to move closer to her, drawn by the warmth radiating from her body. The smallest one, barely larger than her hand, crawled onto her chest. Another pressed against her side. The defiant one, Rin, she'd decided remained at the edge of the group, watching her with suspicious eyes. "It's okay," Alara whispered. "You're safe now." Hours passed. Alara activated her suit's emergency beacon, knowing her team would track her signal. Until they arrived, she would keep these cubs alive. The wind howled outside their shelter, and the temperature continued to drop, but inside the blanket, life persisted. As the moons of Theta 7 rose above the horizon, casting pale light across the ice, something remarkable happened. The cubs, now warm and stabilized, began to move with purpose. 4 of them burrowed deeper beneath the blanket, pressing against Alara's torso and legs, sharing heat in the instinctive way of pack animals. The 5th cub, a small, trembling thing with patches of missing fur, climbed steadily upward. Alara felt tiny claws prick through her thermal hood as the cub scaled her shoulder. Then, with a contented chirp that sounded almost like a purr, it settled itself atop her head, curling into a ball and tucking its snout beneath its tail. And Rin, the defiant one, finally surrendered. The cub crawled forward, pressed its small body against Alara's neck, and released a long, shuddering breath. Alara smiled, tears freezing at the corners of her eyes. "There you go, brave one," she whispered. She stayed awake through the long night, monitoring her suit's power levels and the cub's vital signs through her neural interface. The creature's breathing deepened, became steady. They were going to make it. When dawn broke over Theta 7's frozen landscape, Ilara's rescue team found an unusual sight. A human woman lying on the ice, wrapped in a thermal blanket, with 6 Kirathi cubs sleeping peacefully around and atop her. 5 burrowed beneath the covers, and 1 a small, determined thing with a white chest patch perched like a crown upon her head. Commander Torres, Ilara's superior, approached cautiously. "What the hell happened here?" Ilara opened one eye, grinning despite her exhaustion. "Found some refugees, sir. They needed a place to stay." Later, when the cubs were safely aboard the rescue ship and Ilara was warming up with hot coffee, the xenobiologist on staff approached her with wonder in his eyes. "Do you understand what you did?" he asked. "Kirathi cubs imprint on whoever provides them protection during their first vulnerable period. They'll remember you for the rest of their lives. Their entire species will remember you." Ilara looked through the observation window at the 6 cubs, now clean, fed, and playing together in a heated enclosure. Rin sat slightly apart from the others, watching her with those intelligent eyes. "I just did what any human would do," she said quietly. "They needed help. I had a blanket." The xenobiologist shook his head in amazement. "Your species never ceases to surprise us, Voss. You found 6 dying aliens on a frozen moon, and your first instinct was to lie down in the ice and share your warmth. That's not tactical. That's not logical. That's single quotes double quotes human," Ilara finished, smiling. "That's just human."